So here is where we are. As you know, or likely know, we hosted a summit here in August, and we had probably about 60 people total coming through in-depth trainings and discussions, strategizing sessions, and really orienting people to how we work together in a new way that's less hierarchical, that is much more focused on mutual accountability and mutual support. We support each other to do the work that we know needs to be done and that we know each other want to do. And so many of those people who participated in the summit have been interested or have been developing pilot projects in their own locations. Then we launched the Maine Mutual Aid Network, our umbrella cooperative. We have around 50 members of that officially now. And we're just starting to launch pilot sites in locations. So just get up and running, have different pilot sites start doing activities on the ground or formalizing those activities into a mutual aid network structure. An example of what we plan to do going forward here, Allied Community Co-op is one of our local pilot sites, and one of our aims this year, and one of our aims for this crowdfunding campaign that we're embarking on, is to seed a savings pool for the Allied Drive neighborhood so that people who are active in the Allied Co-op can have a pool of money to tap into for emergencies, for no interest loans, perhaps some grants, some ways to fund community projects that currently don't have good funding sources. So a lot of what we are aiming to do, as we've shared, and this is why we've asked you to come here, is we're aiming to redesign how funding works and create a situation where where we can all be funders, first of all, whether or not we have a lot of money to start with, we can contribute to making a better world and have our contributions be recognized as valid when they're non-monetary as well as when they're monetary. So we can contribute time and we can contribute our other material resources that we have, or we can contribute money, and all those contributions are valued. But create a situation where people who want to contribute money have a way to give directly to a community that they would like to benefit. So many economically exploited communities, groups of people, neighborhoods, families, and a lot of times neighborhoods that are economically exploited only need philanthropic help or charitable help because they don't have access to enough money. So we are really creating a situation where funders can contribute directly to a neighborhood, directly to a community, know that they have the mechanisms in place to own and steward that money collectively, to own and steward it wisely, to identify the work they want to have done in their own community, and to carry it out themselves to build their skills the ways they want to, and allocate the resources they want to, bring in people from the outside when they choose to. And we think that we're really getting somewhere with that. So we're saying redesigning work for a cooperative, regenerative economy. So the question is how we build an economy that creates and rewards abundance. As you probably know also, this mutual aid network model is the result of a 5-year research and development project that originated here in the Dane County Time Bank. The Dane County Time Bank has been extremely successful compared to a lot of similar efforts, although we have huge limitations. But we've been very successful at using time banking to corral the raw materials, the abundant assets of our communities, which are the time and talents and human resources of the people in communities, and really turn that into things of greater, more apparent value. And we started taking an approach to thinking of it as different levels in a food chain. So time banking is like the sunlight, it's like photosynthesis, using sunlight to turn the very abundant natural resources of time and talents into things like projects, into things like our restorative justice youth courts, into things like our wellness project or our dialysis transportation project or disability inclusion projects. But then we realized that there are a lot other levels of the economic food chain that we need to address. And we also think it's extremely important to support local business and level the playing field between small and large enterprises. We also think it's extremely important for people to have access to money when they need it. There are some things that we still really have to spend money on, and in some cases that's appropriate, things that are scarce and things that are exchanged over a large geographic area. It makes sense sometimes that you need money for those things, and we want to create opportunities for everyone to access any kind of resource they need and be able to contribute any kind of contribution they can contribute in society. So everyone's contributions are valued. And we recognize fundamentally the problem in our economy is that it only really recognizes one kind of work. So we've started working with a woman, Ann Snick. We really have adopted some of her work that she's done on work. She really studied women around the world in a lot of different circumstances and really focused on women and how work shakes out among women around the world. So productive work is the thing that we're all used to considering work, and that's what you do to feed your family, and a lot of times that's what you do to earn money to feed your family. But it could be growing food to feed your family, making clothes to clothe your family, building a house to house your family. And that is very valuable, but we also think collective work is extremely valuable, and that's what you do for your community. Care work is what you do to care for subsequent generations or any person or being who needs care. Self-work, investing in your own health, talents, identity, personal choices. So our current economy does kind of value self-work in some cases, in some ways, by creating opportunities for people to charge a lot for their time based on what's gone into investing in self-work in the past or currently. But as you can probably just extrapolate from knowing what you know about how work happens and how our economy happens and how pay happens, only some people get to tap into that advantage of having performed self-work. And then number 5, she refers to keeper of the balance. I refer to it more as just resource allocation. The work that's required, especially in an economy that's really skewed as it is today, the work that's required to really allocate resources to meeting people's actual needs, especially in a context where certain types of resources are easier to access for certain types of work. So part of what we're aiming to create here in the Main Man and in mutual aid networks is an infrastructure and a way that people can earn a living and create the supports that are needed to keep that balance and do that resource allocation. So a lot of the budget that we're looking to raise for the Main Man is really to fund some roles of people being the keepers of the balance or the people who help develop new ways to allocate resources more wisely. And then we intend to embody that ourselves. All of us who are doing this mutual aid network work are creating robust budgets for ourselves that demonstrate how we are going to meet our needs with a variety of resources. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But this slide is just going into sort of how we took that food chain level model that I just showed about what's really abundant up to what's really scarce, and applied it also to the types of work, and also apply the same, it kind of maps onto different types of currencies or different means of exchange. So this also helped us develop sort of our framework. So at the top, and not meaning in the value laden way, but at the top here of the food chain, the apex predator, we could call it, we have the scarce resources, the metal kinds of currencies, or the Bitcoin, the kinds of currencies that have value because they're scarce. And that makes sense because it makes sense to kind of compete for scarce resources. And we put the productive work up in that scarce area, just partly because that's how we do it now, is we do our, as Scott says, our fiat day job, our productive work in order to earn that scarce currency and feed our families. But then a little less scarce, a little more abundant is the collective work, and that tends to fall now into areas that we can use complementary currencies for. Price-based mutual credit for the things that are a little more scarce, like storefront space in a desirable part of town, or like the kinds of goods you need to stock a business. And then care work, which is more abundant and tends to fall into the time banking realm and also the sharing and gift economy realm. And then the very abundant work. Part of what we really intend to do is pull more things out of the scarce. So now this slide with the arrows is apply these mechanisms, pull more things out of the scarce part of the economy and into the more abundant part of the economy. And going back to Charles Eisenstein, whose writing has really influenced me, one thing that he writes about in Sacred Economics is every time a new service is monetized, every time a new part of society is monetized, it's really eating the commons. That's how you monetize things. You take things that were once in the commons, like grief counseling, for example, or, a lot of kinds of care work. And you suddenly make it into a commodity, and then you're enclosing part of the commons and people have to start paying for it. So we're really working on developing mechanisms to pull things out of that scarce part of the economy and back into the commons. And actually the same, going back up the other direction too, creating things of scarcer and sort of more rarefied value out of the really abundant economy. So an example of that, which you've probably heard about, is the Power Time 2 project that we envisioned for Allied Community Co-op, where we would start by using time banking to teach people how to conserve energy, train people to do energy conservation consultations, and use time banking to really build those skills and build that resource. And then as people would save energy, take the money that they save and invest it in a collectively managed pool. So you're taking your very abundant resources of people's time and talent and capacity to learn how to conserve energy and turning that into a more rarefied resource of money that we had intended to use to get a van to take people to shop for food. So one of the very unique things that I see in what we are doing in mutual aid networks is we're really focusing on the social processes of sharing and learning, and really realizing that the economy is something we do. It's a social construct, and really the main barrier to having a new economy is breaking our habits and just choosing to do things differently. And the way I started construing this really is more of us need to have more skin in the game about time banking for the last 11 years. And I still only use it very marginally in my life, and that's going to change now. And many of us are going to make that change for ourselves. So I call it manning up. And next year I am giving up a salary position and I will just work for contract work 10 hours a week, and I'm going to make my way doing mutual aid network stuff, doing the variety of things I want to do for my human experience, doing more of my music work, doing more public speaking, more community organizing, more technical support of other mutual aid network sites, more travel, and I'm going to earn a lot less money, and I'm going to make it very plain how I earn time bank hours, how I earn other kinds of commons credits, how I earn my right to tap into more shared resources by building more shared resources. So we're going to demonstrate how we create a lot of incentives to pull things into the commons and use that. And a number of us will do it together. I kind of picture it like holding hands and jumping out of the plane. And one of the ways that we will create very concrete mutual accountability is we've created a cooperative structure. So we all join a cooperative, we're members, we have legal accountability, social accountability, financial accountability to each other. And so this is from the Man Up Summit that we hosted. This was my personal workshop where we used my life as an example of how we can do our own work-life design and then apply that to our own robust budget. And that's just what we call a budget that includes the wide variety of resources. We used very realistic numbers. We used numbers that are as close to reality as I could get for what I currently spend. And this is already with very low expenses because I already use these things a lot. Then we put into place what we thought was realistic, how much I could save in each budget line in 1 year based on the supports I know exist and then I know can exist within a year. And we showed how we could reduce my monetary expenses by 37% in 1 year. And so now we're creating a tool that does this over the course of 3 years, and we're practicing with it. We're hosting a twice a month online learning series. And so a number of us are doing this budgeting together and figuring out not only how we can resource our own lives, but also how we can do exactly the work that we want to do, including exactly the work that we want to do contributing to creating this system. And again, I see a lot of this as our creating a framework so everyone in the world who really wants a new economy that's cooperative, that's where people can be autonomous yet interdependent, where we can cooperate without relying on all togetherness and agreements, but where we are choosing to support each other, where we are explicitly saying that every person on the planet deserves to have a decent life, that we all get a chance to put our money where our mouth is. and really make it happen by doing it. And I don't just believe, I know this is the only way this is going to happen is if those of us who want it to happen actually do it and make it happen. One of the main goals of this crowdfunding campaign is to really develop the technological infrastructure now, all the tools to make it easier for us to do this. So we have partnered with a group of people in France who have developed some open source software that's a marketplace where we can show the projects that we're doing. We can show what we have to offer and what we need around the world in a time making context, but we can also exchange time credits, we can exchange any other form of mutual credit that we choose to, we can exchange dollars. And it's an open source tool that we're really working on developing a lot of capacity for people to contribute to. So we're working on building a local team that can work on this and develop some good processes for them to communicate with the team in France and be able to have teams all around the world contributing to this and create a situation where this is connected with lots of other kinds of software and lots of other kinds of communication tools that people are working on around the world. Another thing that's unique about mutual aid networks is we've just been working for many years to really build relationships and build these kinds of networks. And our whole point is not to find the one thing that we want to build and raise a ton of money and get everyone on that one thing. Our point is to find all the different networks of people, find the ways that we can connect, hook it up, plug it in, and turn it on. And that's what we need right now to make the new economy, is the connection among all these different efforts. There are a lot of people heading the same direction or similar directions or complementary directions. We don't need to convince anyone of anything. We just need to invite everyone to play together. There is a new ripening of that sentiment all over the world. One thing that's been really heartening for me is being able to travel and meet so many people doing similar things. I met a woman from Romania who had developed the exact same vision. Enric Duran in Spain has developed pretty much the same vision for Fair Co-op. And you'll meet our 8 pilot projects. Everyone's coming together in this similar way. So some of the technical tools that we're creating in Weezer, which is the name of our software, we'll call it the mutual aid platform. It's sort of the map to the man. But we will have these project views based on the Yes Men Action Switchboard, the Yes Men who are now on our advisory board. You'll be able to see the different projects in mutual aid networks, what they need in terms of money, what they need in terms of people power and time and skills, and also what they need in terms of material goods. People will be able to contribute any of those types of things. We'll be able to track progress. It'll be like an ongoing perpetual crowdfunding that's more robust for all kinds of contributions. And then you can see here at the bottom of this screen, just working on including a spreadsheet, a budgeting tool that's right here in your profile and in your project profile. So we can track people's progress. People can go and contribute to individuals who are doing good work. So another way that I've started realizing this can play out is this is a way that we can invite people into voluntary, joyful redistribution of wealth. You have more money than time, you can throw in money and get some time credits out of the pool. You have more time than money, vice versa. You have some land in Samoa that you can give. Someone in the mutual aid network might really be able to put that to good use.